Welcome to LearnWake. This is Brandon Judd responding to a video analysis request that's been uploaded by user schmijoh, looks like, and this is on heel side frontside 360. And to get into this, you have a description down here that is really helpful for us. You say you have been landing 360s about 6 times out of 10 attempts, which is pretty average for the past year for you. Most of them look just like this. When you don't land, it's because you don't get the handle pass. Comfort in the air is fine for me, but how do I make sure the handle comes around each time consistently so I can progress into more grabbed 360s? Alright, first off, great question. That's very, very normal. This is kind of a common issue to have. And your issues with it are common, and those issues typically prevent people from landing it at all. So it's really good that you're able to sort of fight through those. It means you're naturally comfortable on your board and naturally comfortable in the air and kind of can fight through the issues that your body positioning is giving you. So things are looking up, even though there are a few issues with this. Once you fix this, they should be really comfortable and you should be able to get those grabs in no time. So the first thing I want to talk about is your body position. So you crank into this in a tall position. So I want you to see how much lean you give to this. So you can see right now you're already leaning pretty significantly, and as we progress into this, you're leaning pretty hard. I mean, there's a pretty hard load on the line as you're coming in, and then you flatten off and squat right here to where you're now upright in just a very broken squatted position, and then you go to stand tall. Now we'll get into these issues in a second, but I want to talk about your approach first. So let's look at an example of Ben Greenwood approaching on a heel side frontside 360, and I want you to pay attention to his amount of lean. So you'll notice here right now he's not really leaning, he's just kind of riding like normal, pretty evenly distributed his weight on his feet. And you'll see as he edges in and approaches this, he's still pretty neutral. Still pretty neutral, still pretty neutral. He just starts to kind of sit a bit on his approach so that he can use legs at the wake. And right here is where he starts to stand taller and taller all the way until he's fully tall all the way through the wake. So that is what is going to help you so much with your line tension. That's part one. That's the first thing that's going to fix it. Is we have to have you not leaning and coming in so hard. I want you to get into that nice low squatted position out here. So you'll notice how Ben sort of rolls his knees forward and stays just upright with his body. I want you to do that. I want you to really just kind of push your knees forward a bit and keep your upper body centered over your board. When you do that, it's going to allow this line tension to be very consistent for the position of the wake. Another thing I want you to pay attention to is right here, Ben is already completely off of the water, and he's adding a grab to this. So because there's a grab in this, he takes his hand off the handle a little early. He's just about to take his hand off the handle. But again, there's a little spray in the way, but he's already out of the water completely. So when we go back to yours, your board's still, your back foot's still in the wake, and look how far off the handle your front hand is. And your chest is already really turning really hard. Whereas when you look at Ben, he's still facing the boat, and your chest is facing the landing side of the wake. So I want to show you from another perspective. This is one of Bob Sitchell, and you'll see, pay attention to the line tension here, and this is going to be kind of the key for you in part two. So you'll want to get into that good squatted position on your approach, kind of like Bob does here, where he rolls his knees forward. He's not really cranking hard against the rope or leaning hard against the rope. He's standing pretty neutral. And you'll notice his body stays pretty still until he stands all the way tall at the wake, and then he still is facing the boat pretty hard, and he's just going for the grab kind of early. But look how he's still facing the boat until right about here, and that's about the peak of his trick. But then when he goes for the handle pass, look at this rope. See how it just droops down really easily? This makes him get the handle very easily and very late in the trick too, because he starts his rotation with his lower body. So I want you to watch this. Watch how he uses the board and his hips to initiate the rotation instead of his upper body. So he's really leading with the board and with his hips, and his upper body just kind of is relaxed and follows. Now I want to go back to yours, and let's pay attention to what your upper body does and how your upper body leads the flip. See how your chest is really far facing your landing side and your board is actually behind that. If you were to, skewer your shoulders here and then run a line directly down the middle of your board, you'd notice that your shoulders are more twisted further into the 360 than your board is by those measurements. So that is what is getting your line tension in combination with your edging in, because your edge in messes with your line tension a lot. But then in the air, this is what is also messing with it, is you're trying to spin with your upper body hard like a snowboard, instead of using the leverage of the handle in your lower body to initiate the spin. And what this is going to do is this is going to make your upper body travel away from the boat. So look how you're like kind of dipping your head and shoulders away from the boat. The thing is the rope is going to stay the same distance away from the boat. So if you move away from the boat, then the rope is going to be moved away from you, making it way harder to control that. And that's why right here the line is really, really tight, and it makes it really tough. So that is really what's going on there. So it's nothing too much more complicated than that. And look how Ben really pushes his lower body through it. He uses the grab kind of to exaggerate that, but look, his upper body is still kind of facing the boat and his lower body is already at 180. Lower body's still moving through it. And they kind of move together at the end, but you just do that once you're really comfortable. And Bob's going to be the same way. So watch how his upper body is behind in this. His lower body gets pushed through the trick, and then he can pass the handle and be nice and comfortable on the way down. So that's about it. Those two things. Number one, and we'll walk through yours again just so we can kind of see it. Number one, let's go back to the first one. Number one is you're edging too hard. Too much lean, too hard. That's going to give you tight line tension, and then when you back off, it's going to loosen your line tension at the wake and then make it tighter again in the air. You want to do the opposite. You want it to go kind of loose and then tight right at the wake, and then it will loosen up again in the air. And then you start really whipping your upper body into this rotation. Your upper body right at this position is about a full 90 degrees ahead of your lower body. And that also breeds really tight line tension. But that's about it. Fix those things and you'll be good to go. You'll have these things very comfortable. The line tension will be much easier, but it is going to take some training. One of the drills I'd recommend is edging out and just doing some normal wake jumps in the nice mellow position that Ben shows you here, where you roll your knees forward on the way in and remain relatively still with your upper body, and then at the wake all you do is give it a good push with your legs, and I want you to notice how soft the line tension is in the air when you practice that. Do a couple straight airs and then wake to wake 180s just to get used to that, and you should feel a significant difference of line tension in the air. And then be really patient. Don't start spinning right away. You can pop up to the peak of your jump before you start spinning on the way down. And that's about it. So thanks again for uploading the video. Hopefully this is pretty seamless for you and is easy to implement. If you have any questions, feel free to go down in the comment section below and make some comments there, or you can adjust your riding, make some improvements, and upload another video analysis request. Thanks again.